Welcome to the regular meeting of council for Monday, April 23rd. I'd like to call this meeting to order and recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Hupetchesed and Sechot First Nations. Councillors, are there any late items? City Clerk, any late items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one late item under item I3. It's a letter from the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District requesting a proclamation.
Okay, thank you. Then council, may we have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the late item, please?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Council, we have the meetings of the minutes of the special meeting held at 3 p.m. and the regular council meeting held at 7 p.m. on April 9th. The motion to adopt those minutes, please.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And before we go on to the public input period, I'd just like to bring to the attention of the public that council came in the chambers today, and we had on each one of our desks, each one of our spots, a little message from grade 1-2 students of JP2. They came to the City Hall last week and wanted to find out about how the city works and meet the mayor, and each one had prepared this message, different partners for each councillor, and the message they wanted to put on the councillor seats. And so I'll read you my message. It says, "Dear Mayor Rattan, thank you for being the leader of our city. We appreciate the time that you spend in meetings and working with those in our community. We love our city. Thanks for being our mayor. From Griffin and Weston, and I get the rainbow as part of mine." And each councillor has their own specially crafted message. So it was a delight to come in and see this. And every single child who came, and this was, like I say, it was a grade 1-2 class, they wanted to know where Councillor Mignon's desk was, because they know Councillor Mignon's children who were in their school. So I'm the coolest councillor. You're the coolest councillor, clearly. They couldn't care less about the rest of us, but Councillor Mignon's,
She's the cookie counselor.
Yeah. Okay, so that council brings us then to public input period. It's an opportunity for the public to address council on topics of relevance to City Council. A maximum of 4 speakers for no more than 3 minutes each can be accommodated. Yes, please come forward. And even though we know who you are, you get to identify yourself again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm Pam Craig, representing the Parade Committee for July 1st this evening. But first of all, I want to say, aren't our children delightful? That's a wonderful message from our young students for you. Thank you. I will thank that teacher for doing that. And today I had the privilege to present the Governor General's Award to Alder Whitham, who had come through the community just for a short visit. So we have some very special students in our school district. So this evening I'd like to thank Mayor Rattan and Councillor Ron Paulson for participating on the Canada Day Parade. We're forging ahead delicately. We've met on April 11th. We meet again on May 16th. So I want to alert the community that they need to step up and volunteer and also register their parade entries as soon as possible, and so that we can get our plans definitely in place. I have some cards that I want to share with each councillor this evening and request that you share them with the community when you're out and about. You are in contact with people on a daily basis, so this will help us spread the word. It shows our email address and the website for people to go to, and we have people looking at that website on an ongoing basis so that they can make sure they get the message through. Another big issue will be that we are going to take the same route as last year. That'll be from the Catalyst Mill to the Dunbar Street exit off of 3rd Avenue. So people in the community get to know now that they need to be on 3rd Avenue for July 1st. Parade starts at 10, and we'll be coinciding with the Race the Train event that the Chamber is putting on. So pretty exciting, and I'm pleased to see that we're moving forward. And again, thank you to Mayor Rattan and Ron Paulson for helping us out on the committee. And again, volunteers, come forward. book your entry. So I will share with each counselor a little package of cards to share the information with the community.
Perfect. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Look at all the volunteers sitting there.
I know, I'm thinking that.
Don't be afraid.
Make sure that you share them around as you're out and about.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Okay, thanks, Pam. Anybody else wish to address council? Okay, then that brings us to our delegations. Our first delegation is from the Kinsman from Kin Canada, and just a reminder to our delegations that we restrict you to 10 minutes each, and I'll give you the 2-minute sign as you get there if you need to be alerted.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Rattan. Thank you for having me, everyone, tonight. Tonight, the Kinsmen are here to request a road closure for our annual Little Lightning in the Valley Soapbox Derby. I don't know if they've got the information for you. We're doing it on July 21st this year. We're hoping to move it from the top of Argyle to the bottom, so from 3rd Avenue down to basically the tracks, and we're still going to have a buffer zone just from the tracks to the end. But basically, we need a request for closure from 9:30 a.m. to about 4 p.m. Please.
Awesome, thank you. Somebody wish to make that motion so that we can proceed?
Motion, Mr. Mayor?
Okay,
I'll
is there a
second
seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion.
The old traditional soapbox derby route.
Yeah.
Okay, and just Councillor Minions, you have a question? Okay, Councillor Paulson, or sorry, Councillor McClellan.
That's fine. Just curious, I notice you're not going to have any adults in there. Last year didn't go all that big anyway, I guess. But have you got any way of advertising it better? It seemed like there wasn't as many entrants last year as the year before, and I know everybody enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, so this year we've worked on a little bit of a better advertising campaign for beginning. Today at the school, every child was able to pick up a registration form and a poster. We've also got a lot more sponsors on board this year, so our advertising dollars are going to be able to go a lot further. As for the adults, we did only have one group really reach out to us, which we felt it was just more of a feeler, and if there's not that much of a response. So this year, we're actually trying to do an under 6 event. We're only going to run a very short course, half a block. They're not going to be building their own carts. We're going to have a few built for them, and just so mom and dad can get a picture, things like that. But if the older kids don't want to play, we'll get the younger kids to come play. We'll work on it.
Those are specially made carts for us.
Yeah.
Those are called wheelchairs, aren't they? Okay, so
We could do a wheelchair race.
He said walkers.
I said, yeah.
yeah, so
That was off camera.
Jason, it is an incredibly good event, and it's one of those things that I think community looks forward to. So whether it's top of Argyle or the bottom of Argyle, I think didn't it used to be at the bottom of Argyle?
Before my time.
Before your time. Okay, well, all right. Okay, anything else, council? On the motion then, all those in favor? Carried.
Thank you very much. You have a wonderful evening.
Okay, thank you. Council, our next group is Broombusters Invasive Plant Society.
So,
Okay,
okay.
so we have one broombuster?
We have one broombuster and another broom cutter. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah, thank you for having us here today to talk. The goal of presenting this information about Scotch broom to you again is in hopes of getting Port Alberni City to support us again. We have more volunteers this year that want to start attacking more of the broom on the public spaces. So let me talk about broom first. So broom quickly takes over empty fields and clear-cut forest land. Some of these photos will give you a picture of how bad it can be. That was a forested area that was cleared. The broom was on the side of the road, and it totally took over. Here's what it frequently looks like on roadsides where it's been disturbed. The problem with it being on the roadsides is it quickly then moves into smaller roads, into farms and parks and schools. And another problem is that the broom spreads down the utility corridors, and then it gets into the forest land. So here you can see solid yellow rivers, and we'll talk about that when we talk about fire danger again. But you can also see that the broom moves out and it gets into the young tree plantings. So what's wrong with Scotch broom? First of all, it is an alien invasive plant. It is not native. It spreads rapidly and densely, as you just saw in that other picture, forms dense thickets and crowds out native plants, leads to a dramatic loss of diversity, slows and prevents forest regrowth, causes allergies, and this year we're focusing on how highly flammable broom is. It's toxic to grazing animals and wildlife. The wildlife cannot eat it, so it's taking the place of the food that they do need to eat. Changes the soil chemistry and makes farmland useless because the prolific seeds stay in the soil for 30 to 40 years. And that's a low estimate of how long the broom seeds will be able to sprout again. Our particular concern is the forest, and once again, this is the photo. Because the broom grows much faster than the trees and competes for water, sun, and nutrients. Oregon estimates losses of 47 million each year in lost timber sales because of Scotch broom. We need to try to help our forests grow back in balance and good health, and it's becoming more and more difficult. This is what it looks like when we have absentee landowners. This is a serious problem, whether it's in rural areas or in urban areas like this one here. Broom strangles native species. Okay, this was a camas that a group of volunteers rescued. This is large broom. We actually have a larger piece of broom to show you. This, do you want to, Jillian? Do you want to? This is Scotch broom, and
It was over 14 feet tall.
Wow.
This is from the SPCA grounds. I'm not a dendrochronologist, but it's between 23 and 47 years old. And the websites will tell you that broom grows for 7 years to a height of 10 feet.
It does grow
Grows
far.
much bigger.
Yes. Fortunately, when it's big like that, then it's easy to kill. It's the stuff in the middle that's harder to get rid of. But that shows why it's competing with our forests and farms. Broom spreads rapidly. You can see there's one little broom plant, and then it spreads into a clump, and pretty soon you have something like you have on Island Highway. And it gets even worse when you get down towards Victoria. So here are the two myths that we had to deal with. One is that we can't stop broom. That's not true. You can actually control broom. You just have to do it right. Don't get the excavator out, but rather cut it at ground level. It's a humble approach, but it actually works. The other is that broom is naturalized. No, broom will continue to take over. It'll get worse and worse. Whole forest hillsides can be covered with broom instead of our natural forests. So as I said, our emphasis this year is on it as a fire hazard. These are quotes from Terry Peters, who is the fire chief of Powell River, who started the Broom Busters group there because of the amount of fires they had there. Here's his complete quote. Scotch broom is a volatile flash fuel, particularly with mature plants. The presence of Scotch broom will increase a wildfire's fuel load and escalate the fire's intensity, compromising fire situations, making them more difficult to fight. These pictures on the side were from Qualicum Beach, and those were not dead broom. That's just what it looks like in a dry summer. So even when it's green, it's a fire hazard, but when it's dried out like that, it's even worse. This is the Island Highway up near Comox, and once again, that's an old landfill. So the Coastal Fire Service made a statement. 2 invasive species cause fire behavior and control concerns, broom and gorse. So now communities and residents are taking action. This is, don't need to go through it, but this is the list of communities that are taking part. There's one picture. This was from the SPCA and these huge piles here a few years ago. These, I'm going to flash through some of the communities who are cutting broom. Qualicum Beach was where it started. We had a hard time finding broom this morning to cut. It's, you can get rid of it. Parksville, Campbell River, Lanceville. Several of them, the cities have now passed, this year have passed bylaws, including Campbell River, Powell River, and Qualicum Beach. I'm not sure they're totally finalized, but they're close to being finalized. Nanaimo already has a bylaw. This was some help from search and rescue on a steep cliff at Top Bridge Regional Park. We might need some help when we're working on the steep bank as driving in close to the hospital. Comox Valley has a large group that actually they go out like almost every day. Okay, so here's Port Alberni. This is the volunteers from the Alberni Deep Space Port volunteers. These were photos from the SPCA. That's a lot of broom. And this is from last year. So this was, I'm not sure where this was, but anyway, you know where it is.
Robert Street East above
Yeah.
North Island
Yeah.
College.
Just up by the multiplex.
Yeah. So that's a lot of broom as well. So 2018, we didn't actually do much last year except for the young professionals of Alberni Valley. But we have volunteers that have signed up that actually want to get out and cut broom. So now we just are coming to council saying, you know, will you pick it up if we cut it down? So these are ideas for city participation. The main concern is permission and broom removal. If we cut it, will you remove it? We also have signs that inform people what's going on and let them know that they can partake, connecting them to our website so they can find out how to do it and why to do it. Public statements by the city is very helpful, and public events. Drop zones is something Nanaimo does a lot of, and once again, consider bylaws and training city workers to cut broom. So our strategy and the reason why it's working is we cut broom in bloom. So we only do this until the end of May. Once the seed pods form, we stop cutting because we don't want to spread it. Containment, so we start in areas where it's not really so bad so that we can say, you know, this area is clear, and we gradually work in towards the dense areas. Stop the spread, create shade, protect the ground cover, and cooperation. You know, so we're volunteers, and we want to work with the municipalities and with the media and with the ministries. We're totally supported by the Ministry of Transportation, and if we all work together, we can actually do this. Two greatest threats to biodiversity worldwide are development and invasive species. It's not a cosmetic issue. This is actually a very serious health issue for our ecology. And we are the only ones who can protect our islands. And the reason why we want to cut broom is for future generations. Okay, we don't want them to inherit islands covered with Scotch broom instead of our native plants. So we would like to, you know, arrange some cuts with the volunteers that have already signed up, and we would it's pretty quick that we'd have to say, you know, will you support us? Can we do it again this year? We have done it in the past, and we would like to do it again.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Soy.
Just one question. How did you dispose of the broom before making this request? Removal from, and where did they go?
You mean in Port Alberni?
Yes.
Yes. Jacob Cullum? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he would pick it up. I'm not sure whether he chipped it or what he did with
My
it.
understanding from Jake is that it went to catalyst appropriately enough to be burned as fossil. It was a fitting end for it.
In some places, it's simply chipped on site because we stop cutting before the seeds form. So you can actually, it's harmless to just chip it right where it is cut. That's something else that's done.
All right, okay. Any other questions, Council? Then is someone prepared to make a motion to allow this to proceed on city property and pick up the, for the city workers to pick up
I'm
the...
prepared to make that motion, Mr. Mayor. Direct staff to assist the brooming committee into the removal of broom within the city limits.
Okay, and CAO, would it be fair to say you're the contact?
Yeah, I'm a good starting point. Yes.
Okay.
We refer everything to him. It's easy that way.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments, Council? Okay, on the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Well, thank you very
That was
much.
easy. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, Council, our next delegation is from grade 8 students from ADSS. Okay, so we have Richard, Spencer, and Taylor, Barrowcliff.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you for having us today. My name is TJ Barrowcliff, and this is my friend Richard Spencer. We are grade 8 students from ADSS. We feel there's a situation in our town, and that is the cost in our community for recreational activities.
So these activities are pretty costly for students who don't like sports or can't afford it even, therefore preventing them from participating in out-of-school activities.
Our intention was to learn if teenagers wanted more activities or events. We sent out a survey to classes in ADSS asking what their opinions were.
So the survey was sent out by mass email from a teacher. The survey was available for just over 2 weeks for teachers and students of all grades. 45 people responded to the survey. 82% of those people were students, while 18% were teachers, and a majority of the students who responded were grade 8s. 89% of the results were a yes to the change. The top 3 responses were a new skate park on the north part of town, more basketball courts, and a rec center.
After the survey, we discovered that a common opinion is that there should be more activities. We propose that a committee is created of Parks and Rec as well as teenagers to try and fix this situation.
Okay, thank you very much. Just out of curiosity, you're asking for a rec center. Would that be different than Echo or different than Glenwood or different than some other place? I'm not sure what you have in mind.
Like so the suggestions were the place where students could go where it's cheaper food and just the good music, places where it's just a good environment for us to hang out and just talk to each other.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, thank you. And skateboard park, you're thinking a new skateboard park other than the one that has been there since 1990 and further in a different location? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, so people have been suggesting on the somewhere on the opposite side of town, because we do have one up there, but then people that live on the other side of town, it takes a while to get there if they're just scootering there, skateboarding. So there was some suggestions to get another one, or a bigger one even, on the other side of town.
Okay. Did you have a particular location or just wherever there was land available, or what were you thinking?
It was recommended on the other side of town. I don't remember the exact street.
Yeah, just pretty much anywhere. It was
Okay.
recommended.
Well, thank you. Councillor Suppy.
Thank you, and thank you very much for coming up and doing this presentation. I'm sure it was very easy for you to do. I would like to refer this back to the Parks and Recs Department, because I know we have a lot of activities going on. We're actually rebuilding, resurfacing basketball courts and all that. I do understand that the transportation has always been an issue for youth, especially in the evenings. Such programs at Nights Alive and all that through our Parks and Rec. So I don't know if you actually need a motion with this, but I would like the findings of your survey to be forwarded to our Director of Parks and Rec, so to see if any follow-up could be done. But
Okay.
I really appreciate you coming by. Thank you.
Councillor Minions?
Thank you, and thank you for coming. And just as a follow-up to that, when we used to have a youth council that a youth committee that myself and Councillor Paulson were on, and we had a hard time getting youth involved, and so we ended it for that reason, because it ended up just a committee of more adults, which is not what we needed. But when we were having meetings, what we heard over and over again was the need for a youth center of some kind, and the need for a youth center that's planned by youth and not by adults for youth. So I think it's a great idea to pair you up with Parks and Rec staff if that hasn't happened already. And yeah, thanks for coming.
So we'll see that Director Thorpe gets your information, and I'm sure she'll get in touch.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And she is here.
She's the lady with the glasses and the blue shirt right behind you.
Hiding in the corner in the back of the car.
Feel free to give it to her. Okay. We have Uptown Merchants. Mrs. Washington.
Thank you, Mayor, Councillors, for giving us the opportunity to speak this evening. For those of you that don't know me, I am Chris Washington, co-owner of Flandangle's Kitchen and Gift, and I am the Secretary and Treasurer for the Uptown Merchants Association. I have with me tonight Tatiana Simpson, who is our new Vice Chair, and of course, you all know Kevin Wright, Chair of the Uptown Merchants Association. We are actually here to speak to you tonight about a new endeavor that Kevin and I have taken on our own to begin. We are not going to speak much about the Uptown Merchants Association this evening. We are hoping to come and see you again next month with our solid plans of what we'd like to see happen in the Uptown corridor. So we are, of course, supported by the Uptown Merchants Association this evening to open a center, a business development and center that focuses on social entrepreneurship. And I don't know if those of you who don't know what social entrepreneurship is, it's an entrepreneur who focuses on not just the sustainability or the profitability of a business, but also the impact of that business on the community, the culture, and the environment. Excuse me, I hate the M's, not supposed to use them. I strongly, since the day Kevin spoke to me 2 or 3 years ago, I strongly believe in what he's trying to promote in bringing small business to our community. It's an absolute must. Small business will create diversity in our community. It will create a social gathering places in different areas. And the center that we are trying to open is not to focus specifically on the Uptown area. It is actually what we want to look at, helping business owners in all over the community. We've been to council before, Kevin's been to council before with the amount of empty buildings we have. We need to get those filled. On our way to the Alberni, the Association for Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities meeting in Victoria, my husband and I drove through Ladysmith. And that little community has done amazing things in the last 4 years. They've gone from having 28 empty storefronts to 1. So we know what can be done in a short period of time. And they're all really neat little funky boutique type businesses that there's absolutely no reason we cannot have them here. We really believe that the services that we're going to provide at the center does not duplicate anything else going on in the community. We have every intention of working with all the banks, Community Futures, the Chamber of Commerce. We all know that they're providing certain levels of service in certain areas, and that we want to make sure that we don't duplicate that, if what people are looking for is what they provide, then we'll send them there. So what we're looking for from the Mayor and Council tonight is not a penny. Kevin and myself have decided that we're going to move forward with this endeavor without the assistance of any taxpayer money. What we are looking for tonight, though, is because we are going to want to try and apply for grants and funding other ways, is through a letter of support from City Council this evening. So we're just going to show you approximately a 3-minute short video on what our proposal is. And then Kevin's going to come up and speak afterwards, and then Tatiana's going to have a few minutes of your time to let us know about her challenges when she was opening her small business, which is the Power of 3 in that brand new lovely looking building on the corner of 3rd and Argyle. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Mayor and Council today. We're getting started this week on taking possession of the building. With the kind assistance of ACAUS, and Sherry Minions was very instrumental in making sure that we could take the space on. We're going to be setting up in the old Bistro and Main space, just kind of kitty corner to my coffee shop. The reason for that is because it's close proximity, we can get to work there. We'll be open Monday to Friday from noon till 5, starting in July 1st is our hope. And the intention of the space is to actually have 3 sections. The very first section is actually a visioning space, kind of like a space where you'd actually sell up the community, and the idea is what we're going to do in our future as a community. The idea, of course, is to come up with the businesses that we think would be most beneficial to our community through social ideas as well as business models and making sure they connect together. That'll be a space where people can come in and understand what our vision is and what direction we're trying to go. The next third of the space will be dedicated towards a marketing office, a business office, and a social media office. And those will work on different aspects of business so they can give them the best tools they can to get started. And then the very back space is actually be dedicated towards a social justice area and social entrepreneurship, where we can actually work with local groups to make sure we have proper connection, to make sure businesses are being developed to help them open up. So that's basically the space in a nutshell, and hope we get it done. With just a few minutes, we'd like to actually add Tatiana's input on this and how much she thinks it might work.
Hi. So I just opened up a new business on the corner of 3rd and Argyle with my business partner, Jessica Philpott. And we were actually looking into that space since January of 2017. So it took us about 14 months to get into that space. And I can clearly say that if I wasn't in a partnership, I would have definitely have given up on the dream long before then. And I feel that a space of this kind will help create the community and support that is needed to help cheerlead people through all of the processes that are necessary and come with opening a business. And I just feel that it will be really well received and support the people that need it. Thank you.
Yes.
Get back up there.
You're not done yet.
So once again, thank you very much for letting us speak this evening. I hope that video, well, all I can tell you is it inspired me to actually go out and do this on our own. We're taking a risk. We've already got community partners out there who are willing to work with us in terms of retired business people and certain banks, and it's just really super exciting. And if there are any questions that you need answered, we'll be happy to do so.
Well, good for you. It's very much like an incubator concept, and you see them in other communities. And we were in Edmonton a couple of years ago and went to their incubator there. It was just amazing the number of businesses that have been created out of that. Over 800 businesses, and when we went and visited, more than 400 of them were still operating 4 years later. So it's really encouraging. So, Councillor Paulson, you had a question.
Just as I've said before, I've had a pretty deep, long retail background in the uptown area, and my wife had a jewelry store there for 34 years, and I was involved in the sporting goods business for probably 30 some odd years in different stores up there. And this is a discussion for a different time, and maybe part of the actual overall office and talking about succession planning. And I know when it came time for my wife to retire from the jewelry and giftware business, that they advertised nationally trying to find somebody that would buy the business, and there were no takers. I mean, it went as far and wide as the Maritimes to Port Alberni, and I think that's part of our problem is and maybe that kind of store that Beth had, maybe it needs to be smaller and smaller square footage. Same thing with a sporting goods store, and I mean, you do have one downtown, but I'm talking about a store that carries name brand and Bauer and CCM and all those sorts of things. And Tatiana, it is such a breath of fresh air to see your shop on that corner. It really is. And I feel I have to apologize because I've been meaning to come in and visit you and say, job well done, and thank you.
Councillor Alberni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to encourage you. It's great. I think Kevin's come to council before in the past to bring it forward, and it didn't kind of get off the ground. But to see you, all three of you, come forward and take it on yourself is really inspiring in itself. And I hope you have the greatest success. We were of course at AVICC as well, and we were talking with the mayor, Lady Smith, about just the incredible turnaround that they've had there. Something like 30% vacancy a few years ago, and down to something like 2% now. Just amazing turnaround. So it's possible. It can be done. So just good luck, and know that the community supports you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sauvé.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to think back about Mr. Wright. This proposal is not new, and it's been fed to us in the city. And for why the city didn't make any action or proceeded on this matter, I have no idea. To me, it's a true inspiration to see this initiative happen. As if you're taking this on your own, honestly, I feel the city has a role to play in this, because it's the only way we're going to develop what we're thinking about. The concerns I have and the roadblocks that I have is actually getting the buy-in with the owners of these buildings to start making some action happen. And if it comes to a point that by bylaws or whatever we can get something to reactivate this, then so be it. I also at the AVICC had a long talk with the mayor of North Council, and as you're aware that Chemainus has always been a gem to me with all these little shops, just like Kevin was explaining. And to me, I envision this for the uptown, downtown, Southport, Northport, anywhere you need. And I think, and I hear Tatiana how she was proceeded, and it takes partnership. Honestly, it's hard for anybody to do it alone in this economy. But the thing is, I feel that if we have a resource, and I look at the city as a role, if we got one economic developer, and I don't think he's able to do it. And I think that's the only reason why this hasn't launched for a long time. But I tend to disagree that I think the city needs to play a role, because it has everything to do with our business sector and everything.
In response to that, Councillor Sauvé, we intend to work closely with the city. We're going to have to. To this point, CAO Apply has met with me. He knows about the plans in advance. Scott Smith, we're going to be working very closely with Scott Smith. Kevin is on a first name basis with our new Art. Oh gosh, his name just heard his job just flew out of my.
His name's easy because his name is Kevin.
Kevin.
And his wife's name is Leslie. That makes it easy for me.
Yeah.
I just don't want this to be a flavor of the month, like
No.
what happened 3 times before that Mr. Wright approaches council and try and get something initiated. I know there's challenges with provincial legislation, building codes, and so be it. But I think it's something that could actually be the new birth of business in this community. Small business is a way to start. Partnership is a way to start. I strongly feel that the city needs to play a role.
If I could just speak to that really quickly, Kevin Peters has been instrumental in turning the corner, especially on moving forward with these concepts. The Sprout program, which kind of had a hindrance just because of misunderstanding, he found a way for the city to actually allow Sprout to work under kind of a pop-up model that would have at least that's the concept, we haven't finalized it. That would allow the Sprout program to actually initiate, which was always kind of the hiccup with that. But he's also very much interested in actually working with me to actually look at these buildings in a thoughtful manner to make sure that the buildings are applicable for certain businesses. Part of the deal is, of course, that we're trying to look at, we have approximately 100 buildings that are empty right now. And I, as an entrepreneur, see them as opportunity. There's 100 opportunities for us to take advantage of. And we want to turn this community to be a more diversified, more equally based community. And so using the development center and also looking at other communities like Ladysmith who have made this transition from resource-based to a more balanced model, means that we can take their map and overlay our map, find out what we have, what they have, and then compare and contrast and see if the businesses that they've taken on are applicable. And then we'll work them in and market them through the development center. So that's what that visioning space is about. We're going to be advertising and marketing businesses that we believe are a good choice and a good fit. There's no guarantee, but at least they are working relatively well in other communities.
But my big question to you, the message is great. And I believe in the message. I'm inspired by the message. But how do you get these absentee landowners or building owners to actually buy into?
Well, to a degree, part of the deal is I happen to know quite a few of the landlords, especially the one who owns my building. He's very connected in our community, especially because he was here for a long time. One of the biggest issues you're having, much like you're having with renters who have, or landlords who have renters or more, so they've rented to someone who's been poor. We've all dealt with, we've been dealing with that here. We've got people who've rented commercial spaces and turned it into a very difficult situation. So a lot of building owners are very resistant. So my hope is, through this business development center, we're going to be able to vet people. We're going to be able to get the business or the building owners understanding that what we're trying to do is build good renters for them to actually take on. And a lot of the building owners are resistant to doing anything until they see a plan. And so the visiting space again is for building owners to come and see a collective plan, because the problem is that the investment is low because they have low rent. So the intention is to start putting people in buildings, and then the rent will eventually increase, which of course most of the people who currently own businesses aren't going to be happy with. But if there's more business, the rent will become irrelevant. Once you get to a certain level, the rent is kind of innocuous. You just pay it and go on. So that's the concept.
It's
so
better to have low rent than no rent.
It is better to have low rent than no rent, but it also encourages certain types of businesses that don't have the skill or intention to be relevant businesses.
Council, I'm just going to interject here. We have 3 more councillors that wish to say something. So, Councillor Minions.
Thank you. And I just wanted to thank you guys for the work that you're doing on this. I'm really excited to see it get going. And I just wanted to agree with what a couple others have said, that Tashiana, your business is a really good indicator of what a thriving business community can do. And just a sort of personal story, but I am the chair of ACAUS, and after our board meetings, Ellen and I used to lock up and leave in the dark and make sure nobody left until we both saw each other get in our cars. And then one Tuesday evening, we saw people walking by with yoga mats, and all of a sudden we looked outside and there was people everywhere. And I think that's a really great, we talk so much about crime in the uptown, and we can add more police officers and we can have the community citizens on patrol, and those are all helpful things. But I think what will really turn around our community is businesses like yours, like all 3 of yours, bringing people to that area. So it's exciting to see, and looking forward to more.
Wait till you see our plans next month.
Okay. Councillor McClellan and then Councillor Paulson. Oh, we're going to give him.
You'll get it when you get older.
We'll give him the last word. Okay, Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, I think most things have been said, so I probably shouldn't be talking at all, except, Kevin, you've looked at the Sprout for a long time, and I'm curious, have you found people, and I don't think the city is the vehicle to run this, because we're not good at running businesses. You people have got your investments, you know what you're doing, and that's who should be doing it. But have you found people who are willing to put up Sprouts in the past? I know you've had
building owners or the
people who want to run the business, be a Sprout.
I will let her talk.
What I'm experiencing right now in my business is basically a Sprout program. And we are also working with our landlord where we pay a reduced rent for only half of a storefront. And then as our business increases, we will increase with it. And this incubator type model that Kevin is talking about is perfect for that, because even though we've just opened a storefront in February, we've been in business in the Valley for 6 years. So we already had a clientele, so it wasn't a risk for our landlord or Community Futures or other investors to take us on. They could see our numbers, they could see our statistics, and then they were willing to work with us to gain a long-term, reliable tenant. So I feel that the Sprout program will work very well.
Yeah, I think it's got possibilities and hope it does, and I think you're the right people to run it.
Thank you. Councillor Paulson?
Just a very quick question. It's a pretty aggressive and ambitious endeavor just to open the office. And you're going to be open from noon till 5. Who's going to man the office?
To start, I will.
Okay. Because
I go to work at 4 in the morning and I work till 11, so
Yeah.
I've got like an hour and change. And then I'll go over from
I was just going to say, there's an old retired retailer that if you need somebody to come in and cover off.
Yeah, well, and that's actually, that's exceptional. We've actually had a dozen people, when we first put the Facebook posting up, we had a dozen people and some really key people in the community who have retired or almost retired, who want to get their hands back into helping the community. And what we're going to be working on is a mentoring program. I called it the Jedi program because, you know, I'm still a Star Wars geek in that part. But the idea is that we want to take people who've already been successful, who believe in our community, and match them up with people who are starting a new business, and then have them be there for them at 8 o'clock at night when they're freaking out because of bylaw this, or they're losing their minds over financing, or they can't fill out a form, and they're there for them. I did that a little bit with Tatiana. She came to me when she was pulling her hair out, and I went, like, calm down, let's have a coffee, let's talk through this. And she went away and got back to business. And that's what I really feel is important as well.
The detriment to that statement could be old and retired. you may know.
Wise and helpful.
Wise and helpful.
I would like to remind people too that Facebook didn't start in a big 2,000 square foot building. It started in somebody's college dorm.
Apple started in a garage.
Apple started in a garage. It's great that Tatiana was in the community and working out of her home for business, but and had built up a client base, and that was in place. But we want to take some chances too. The reason, I think, Ron, I wanted to speak earlier to your issue about not being able to sell. Traditional businesses are becoming a thing of the past. And these social type entrepreneurships are what people are looking forward to in the future. And part of this is what we want to develop is a community feel up in 3rd Avenue and on the Uptown area. So that's the kind of businesses we hope to promote in that area. In terms of all over the community, we want to do what fits. So we are trying to find an identity for us on 3rd Avenue, and the rest of the community is going to have to determine what their identity is in other areas. But the traditional business, I mean, with the advent of eBay and Amazon, can deliver anything to your door, we have to look for new and innovative ways to do business in our community and to have storefronts in our community.
Thank you. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Back to clean up.
Yeah. Well, all my questions could be answered.
Where's your tie?
It's down there, sorry. I was late.
Okay, well, let's take it away from, to...
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that the City of Port Alberni create a letter of support for the Uptown Merchants Business Development Program so they can carry on with their funding without the help of using city funding and to go for the municipal funding. So just a letter of support.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation. Okay, Council, that brings us, concluded our delegations and brings us to unfinished business. First item is Director of Development Services, verbal response to questions arising from the April 9th regular council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there were some questions that were asked of council for clarifications on a previous memo that had come to council. And they were around where some residential occupancies were occurring in some commercial buildings that were contrary to the zoning bylaw. We had noted that were aware of 3 of those. 2 of those 3 have been resolved. Those occupancies are no longer occurring. There is 1 still, and we're actively pursuing that to be resolved. And we hope to have that resolved shortly. And then the last question is about public disclosure about bylaw enforcement files. And we do not disclose details about bylaw enforcement files publicly for privacy reasons.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor McClellan?
Yes, thank you very much, Scott, for that report. But I keep hearing every time someone comes to the mic, we're gonna go see Mr. Smith. And we keep hearing how busy he is, so I think we should do something to relieve your load a little bit, because I see your name's down a few more times yet before we're done tonight. So, but thank you very much for what you're doing, but let's not burn people out.
Councillor Sauvé?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that the receive of the verbal report from the Director of Development Services be received.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And Council, we had from our last meeting a notice of motion following properties be considered nuisance properties, one on River Road, one on 3rd Avenue, and one on Argyle Street. Mr. Smith, since you're sitting there, I'm wondering if you can make some comment on whether or not these properties meet the criteria that we have for nuisance properties. Yes, Councillor McLennan.
Yeah, this was my notice of motion, and the first two were nuisance properties, and the motion on the Argyle Street, which is the theater, was a maintenance issue.
Oh, I see. Okay. So,
So if you want Mr. Smith to carry on, I'll make the motion later.
I'm just wondering if you can comment on the criteria that we have for those.
So what I can do is I can update you on these properties as I get rid of the remote. Yeah.
Okay.
So the property at 6095 River Road is an active property maintenance file currently. There was some previous tenants of that property that were certainly did present a number of challenges. Those tenants are no longer on that property. We are working with the owners of that land. They have been given dates that they must bring that property into compliance, and we'll be monitoring that to make sure that we're not waiting till the dates are done. We're going to monitor to be sure that active activity is occurring, that it's improving. So that's an active property maintenance file on that one. The second one at 3575 3rd Avenue is also not an active bylaw file in some circumstances. We do have an active rezoning application on that. The conditions that were placed on that were one, to consolidate the property. I have received an email from the property owner that they've made that application to the Land Title Office. The other was to do an exterior improvement to that property. They are part of last year's facade improvement program, and they are currently getting quotes from painters. And until recently, of course, the weather hasn't been that great to be doing an extensive exterior improvement. It is something that we're monitoring carefully on that site. And the third one is on Argyle Street. We don't currently have any bylaw complaints about that. It could potentially fall under the building standards bylaw if council wanted to pursue that. As council knows, we have a nuisance property working group that is made up of staff, RCMP and other agencies that look at buildings and files that are on those buildings, like across the spectrum. And I can tell you that's an active group. We've been meeting every 2 weeks approximately to pursue not only the buildings that council has declared nuisance, but to look at other buildings to see whether we think we should be bringing those forward to council for you to consider. And so just provide that information as background.
Thank you very much. Councillor McClellan, I'll turn this over to you for a sec, because this was your motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I made this notice of motion originally about 8 weeks ago prior to going on vacation, and city clerk said she'd wait until I got back. I thought maybe you'd handle it for me in the meantime, but anyway, I would like to make the notice on the first two that they be classified as nuisance properties. They're already being looked at, and when I came back, I went and checked the properties and see what is and what is happening. I noticed an improvement in 3575 Third Avenue every day when I went by there, and I just drive by. I mean, I'm not snooping or anything, but the garbage container at the back of that property was overflowing with needles and everything else steady. So it's not today. I went and checked today. It's real clean. So I think we should make more motions and get the property owners out there cleaning quicker. It seems to kind of be helping. So I would just like to make the motion for 6095 River Road and 3575 Third Avenue to be considered nuisance properties. If I get a second there, I'll explain it. If not, big deal.
Okay. Is there anybody wish to second that motion?
I'll second it so you can talk about it.
Okay. So it's been seconded. If you wish to talk about it further.
I think I cheated. I talked a bit before it, so.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Sobe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just concerned that we're arbitrarily just saying this is nuisance property and start hitting every target around the community. Personally, I would like this to be referred to the nuisance property working group and get a report back from them before we make any decision on this.
Thank you, Councillor Sobe. Anybody else wish to make another council minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the intent of our nuisance property bylaw is not to make it more difficult for good local property owners to own property in this community, especially local property owners who are willing to own property in areas that are often left vacant and house people who are difficult to house. The owners specifically of the Third Avenue property have made an application to improve the property. I'm not going to say there's not challenges with the building. I don't know if there are or not. But I know that they are local people who are actually trying to improve the property. And if we look to make it difficult for people to own property in this community, people will not own property in our community, and the people who have no rentals, or the people who are not ideal tenants will have nowhere to live and they'll be homeless. So I don't think that will make things better in our community. I think that if there's specific concerns, a more appropriate first step would be to bring those to the property owners. And I know that the property owners haven't even been approached about this. So I think there's a better way to go about this.
Okay. Anything else, Council? Certainly, Councillor Sobe, I've got to agree with you. A good route to go is to refer this to that working group.
I just wanted to wait to see on the motion whether everybody supported it or not. If not, I'll be making a second motion to refer this to the nuisance.
CAO?
Mr. Mayor, I can tell council, and Mr. Smith wants to speak as well, I can tell council that the nuisance building working group has considered both the River Road property and the Third Avenue property in question, and more than once, and we continue to consider these properties at our regular meetings, and the working group is clear that we do not regard these to be nuisance buildings, and we've not sought the designation from council.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, did you have anything else you want to add?
Well, and just when council wants to declare a nuisance, you need to have a background report to be able to document that to you, and we have to provide notice to those property owners that you're going to consider it. So you just can't declare them right away. There's a process that we would have to follow.
Right. Thank you. Okay. On the motion then, unless there's somebody else wish to say something? On the motion, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion is defeated. Thank you. Then we have one other motion, and it's that the Council of City of Port Alberni appoint a civic committee consisting of 3 citizens representing business, labor, and the general public, who will be tasked with developing a formula for council wages, taking into consideration recent tax changes imposed by the federal government. Newly formed committee is to complete its work by August 1st. Councillor Washington, Councillor McClellan, that's your notice?
You have someone to talk about this first too?
No.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I move that the Council of City of Port Alberni appoint a civic committee consisting of 3 citizens representing business, labor, and the general public who will be tasked with developing a formula for council wages, taking into consideration the recent tax changes imposed by the federal government. The newly formed committee is to complete its work by August 1st, 2018. Seconder, I'll talk on it. I don't, I won't.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now, I know just recently, council, by custom of the latest little bit, council has passed a motion to get a small raise. 2% on not very much is still an awful lot, not very much, so I wasn't too worried about it. However, it seems like it's kind of been missed. Whoops, I don't have my mic on. It seems like it's been missed that the federal government has taken away the tax exemption from our expense section of what counselors get for a stipend. And I can't remember the exact percentage, but there's an amount of what we get is tax-free because it's designed to cover our expenses in the city, around town. We don't put in expense accounts unless we leave town. We don't put in mileage unless we leave town. And you go buy someone a coffee, you don't put that in and stuff like that. And that's what was covered, supposed to do. And when I first became a counselor, I checked two things. One, how much was it costing me to take time off work and be a counselor, and it was around $200 to $300 a month. And two, was this a fair way of saying that covers your expenses in town? And it was, in my opinion then. I haven't bothered to do the calculation lately because I'm not working, so it's not costing me a dime from my wages. I just don't get any wages anymore. So, but I think that what we need in this council, and really all should, is a formula that is away from the political spectrum. And we've had a lot of criticism for what was passed. I happen to agree with what was passed, but I understand the criticism. So if it's taken away from council to vote on council's wage, and if there's a formula put in that works, let's make it work. It's been a long time since a city council has had a non-council committee look at this. It's might be 20 years. I was on it. That's how I know. And the regional district has done it quite often, and they do it on a regular basis. But I don't, someone can correct me, but the last one that we had, I was on it with Hugh Anderson, and I don't know the other fellow's name. He was a bank manager at the time at the Toronto Dominion. He never showed to the meeting, so Hugh and I worked it out. But it was to, and I was there representing labor at that point. And so I think we need a formula, and I think it's got to be a good one. And this, if you want to make an amendment, there's different people on it, no big deal, but 3 sounds like a good number to me.
Okay, thank you. Any comment, Council? Councillor Alberni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support this in principle. I think Councillor McClellan is right. We need some sort of way of determining council can't say it today.
Remuneration.
Thank you. Can't say it today. We have to figure out a way to figure that out without us having to vote on it directly. Maybe this is a way to do it. I don't know. And honestly, I'm not aware of the changes from the federal government. So that's going to be important for us to know regardless. So I would support this. I do think though that it's more of an issue for the province as a whole. The entire, all of elected councils and directors are facing the same issue. So I think it's something that really it should go to UBCM or something like that. But if we can do something that will provide an example, maybe that will help.
It's something that the entire country is dealing with. So we'll probably hear more about it at FCM. And I do believe that most councils have dealt with this in one way or another. Councillor Minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to specify that we should make sure we have at least one young person on this committee. The reason being is it's the different challenges being a young person on council are very different than the challenges being a retired person on council. So I think that voice is important to have.
Okay, Councillor Sauvé?
Yeah, no,
You're,
I just
making some comments, so let's.
No, I'm just. I agree in principle. Just because you're retired doesn't make you rich or anything. But I just don't feel politicians should be voting on their own raise. Simple as that. I don't believe in raises, but if it takes it out of the politicians' hands, then I'm all for it.
But you understand that ultimately we have to make that decision.
We control the budget.
Even though the recommendation may come from someone, ultimately we have to vote on it.
So
That's the way it's designed. Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, just in case someone doesn't know what happened in 2017 in the federal budget, they did take it out, and then that's when it was put in, and it takes effect in 2019. So it doesn't, if this year's taxes, you'll notice you were still there, but next year with that amount that said non-tax, it will be a taxable income.
Okay, and don't see any other comments on the motion then. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Council, that brings us on to staff reports. The first report is on accounts. Councillor Washington, could you please make this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the certification of Director of Finance dated April 23, 2018 be received, and checks numbering 141331 to 141426 inclusive, and payments of accounts totaling $652,370.88 be approved.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Council, that brings us from the Director of Development Services, 5109 Athol Street, known as the Arrowview Hotel. We have Mr. Smith, did you wish to bring any clarification for Council on any of this?
If council wishes, I'd be very pleased to do a bit of review of the report or to answer any questions. And I do believe the owner's in attendance to potentially answer any questions council may have too. But I can do a cap of the report if you wish, or just answer council's questions.
Council, questions for Mr. Smith on any of this?
I think it's worth the public at least hearing.
Yeah, let's just review it, Mr. Smith, please.
Certainly. So the property at 5109 is being brought forward to council to consider under action under the community charter to require remedial action, and that it be potentially considered declared a nuisance and a hazard. So this property has certainly had a bit of a history with the city, both on vacant building, fire safety issues, and building standards issues. It, in earnest, started in 2014, where a pretty thorough inspection or review of city staff of the interior and exterior of the building was done. There are some 2014 photos attached to the report for council's information. And during that time, a number of significant deficiencies were noted, and written notice was provided to the owner of the time to request that person to bring the building up to either remediate it up to today's building code or have it demolished. Subsequent to that, in 2015, there was a fire occurred in the building. Damage was predominantly involved the main internal stairway and stairs, although there was some evidence of charring and smoke damage in other portions of the building. As we progress in early 2017, again with a previous owner, there had been an agreement to demolish the structure and potential land exchange with the city. And work actually began. Some remediation and removal of asbestos materials began on the building. There was a temporary shoring plan to show you the extent of damage to the building. A temporary shoring plan was required by a professional engineer just to allow workers to go into the building to do that remedial work. Unfortunately, demolition of the building ceased, and that the terms of that agreement expired. The property was purchased by the current owner, Report Canada Environmental Engineering Corporation, with Ray Letourneau as the director in the fall of 2017. Prior to the purchase of this property, the new owner was advised by the City of Port Alberni staff, the state of the building and the previous concerns that the city had. Mr. Letourneau actually attended a council meeting in October and provided what his plans were for the building. A registered registered letter was sent to him requiring him that he provide some details on what was going to be done, either to be demolished or written plans submitted for the remediation of that work. We had not received those plans by the deadline or information. Then that precipitated this report coming to council. Both the property owner and the mortgage holder were advised that this report would be coming to council tonight. So the City of Port Alberni's building inspector, has looked at the building, looked at the information that we have from previous reports, and essentially has determined that the damage to the building exceeds 75% of its assessed value. And that's an important threshold because it is not only in our city's building bylaw, but also in provincial legislation, that when that occurs, it must be brought up, in order to fix it, it must be brought up to today's current building code. So you can't just do a repair on it. In staff's opinion, the building is unsafe, dilapidated, and unsightly, and as such become offensive to the community and constitute a hazard and a nuisance. Based on the failure of the owner to voluntarily rectify the situation and pursuant to the community charter, council may proceed to adopt a resolution requiring remedial action. If council approves that remedial action, the property owner will be given 30 days to undertake that remedial action. And if that fails, then the city may authorize an agent to deal with it on our own. And it's being recommended that the remedial action be demolition and removal of the building.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. And did you say that the owner of the property is here? Mr. Letourneau. Did you wish to address council?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please come forward.
So before I even ask this, could I ask one question? It's slightly back to when you said Lady Smith had increased its, I know I took a tangent, I was just very curious about this and I think of it. How did Lady Smith define its success? Like, I know I took a tangent, but I was just curious and in terms of your meeting with Lady Smith.
I didn't meet with Lady
okay.
Smith, but
Okay,
Councillor Alberni did, and it is tangential to what we're talking about,
That's
which
fine.
is your building.
I just was very curious, and
okay. Let's just deal with your building.
So with the building, yes, I did drop a note off earlier. I don't know if anyone had a chance to read it, but first I'll apologize that we're here today. It's not my intention to be here, and I also apologize. This last month I've been having some family issues with my mother and illness, so it's really distracted me. But I'm not going to make excuses. Where I'm at right now is, and maybe it's a clarification that I need to understand, is when I came on board, I'm more than anxious to move forward with this project. And I had financing in place to address the structural, everything that's around making this building safe, because this is the issue within, I understand what city is, it's safe and it looks. So my goal, and I had arranged financing for this to move forward. At that point, and I'm not trying to say or take blame here, at that point it was made clear to me that that wouldn't be enough, that I would get one permit only, and I need to move forward with one permit, and I have to provide all my plans, all my design, everything I'm going to think for the future, how I'm going to lay out this building, and so forth. And that changed my financing requirements, big time. And so it's changed me from being able to start this project. When I talked to you folks last, I was ready to come and put a foundation where it's required, get the engineers in there and take care of the structural aspects, take care of the aesthetics. All as we mentioned, it's been raining a lot. And this has all changed. This has now put me in a position where I'm not only required to address the structure and the safety, which is the concern, I believe, of the community here, but also to define what are my final plans with this paper, pay for architects to design the building, say where I'm going to be putting, like I think a light in a corner or a room here. And those are not something that I can come up with up front. I can most certainly address the structural to deal with bringing this building up to code, fire, foundation, structure, aesthetics. That was easy for me to move forward with. adding this extra layer of a single permit for me to address everything, and I'm going to be handed one permit, and I have to tell the city everything I'm going to be doing, things that I won't even know of. When I thought I could build a foundation and start to do this important work, and while we were doing that, I'd start to design the building, understand what we're going to do. Am I going to work with different organizations? Is it going to be office space? And this changes everything, because I have to now come and pay architects to design a building that I'm going to have to pay them again when we really know what we're going to do. So my goal was to come in and address the real critical issues of this building. And that's not an option for me. The option for me is one permit only, and I have to define everything I'm doing with this building. And that's changed my financial requirements from something that was affordable to double to 3 times. And that's really changed my ability to get financing. So my goal here is not, my willingness has always been there. The hurdle for me right now is the financing, because of this requirement where I need to now define a bigger project than what I feel. And I'm actually, I appreciate that there's been a discussion tonight about nuisance buildings, because I feel that I've inherited politics with this building, because I noticed other nuisance buildings, they address the issues. And that's where the owner has to do, is address the issues, not say, well, you address the issues, but I want to know what you're going to do with those rooms next year. And you're going to pay an architect to design that next year, even though it's not related to the issue. And this is the position I'm in. Whereas I was more than happy to start this project back at the end of the year. But now I'm in my financial situation where I have to define a huge project as opposed to a critical needs of what the city needs. And I believe that's the issue here, is a safety issue, if you're concerned about safety. And I don't see how forcing me to define so many other aspects of this building, the future of this building, how it will be designed, the interior of the design. And it's, to me, a complete waste of money, because any design that architects will do today is going to have to go and pay them again later. And so today what I ask the city is, one, is to give me some time, and I would like the city to consider removing this mandate of single permit development and let me focus on bringing the building to where it needs to be in order to please anyone that's your engineering, your structural, anything, aesthetics, and all of those things. Because I don't think that any other nuisance owners are being given the same burden that I am. I bought this building with full intention, but now I'm also being told that I have to plan ahead. Across the street, Canon Mental Health would like to do work with me, baby. It's not final. So do I plan to make some rooms for them, or am I going to do my own projects? But I don't see why I have to come and define everything I'm doing in the future and add that cost burden to myself, instead of letting me address the building itself, the concerns of the building and the structure and all of those things. And it's very different. And as I said, I was very anxious to start, and it's been very clear. So I don't have a choice to start about that building until I have a permit. And so there's nothing I can do. So it's not about me not being to address my building. I can't do anything onto my building until I get my financing in order to address this single permit proposal that I've been given. Or not a proposal, it's an option, only option I have. And I don't see why I have to go that distance instead of dealing with the building in terms of its safety and its integrity and its aesthetics. But to define, as I wrote in my little note, is to tell you where I'm going to put a light in a closet on the 3rd floor and have to start paying for that seems to me way out of reach for the goal of what you're trying to accomplish here, is to bring this building up to standards and to focus on that. And that's my problem right now. It's not a willingness to move forward. It's that I've been handed a huge burden of financial requirements when I don't think I should be. I don't think that other owners are handed this kind of huge task.
So before the rest
Sorry
of council, I'll ask you a question, because at this point you're kind of repeating yourself.
Okay, fine.
Mr.
Yep.
Letourneau, was it not absolutely crystal clear to you before you even agreed to purchase this building that we had gone down quite a route with the previous owner, and then we had some significant concerns about the building, its viability, any kind of business plan you could possibly have? We went through the entire number of years of interactions with the previous owner and all of that history of it. Was it not absolutely crystal clear to you that we had a path that we had started down, and the fact that we had started, that you were purchasing the building didn't alter the path, the course that we had established for that building, which was to either have it repaired or taken down. Was that not
Oh,
crystal clear with you?
And I absolutely accepted that.
Okay, so I'm glad that you acknowledged that you knew exactly what you were purchasing when you purchased that building, and that we had expectations for
Well,
it.
the word you used was repair. I'm more than happy to repair the building. I'm more than happy to bring it up to standard, but adding this extra layer, I mean, for me to go and pay architects to design something that'll change next year and I pay them again is not related to the structure. I'm not trying to deviate from taking care of the structure and of that building, but this extra burden where I'm only going to be allowed one permit to do anything in that building seems to me is a huge burden on me, as opposed to addressing. I'm more than happy to deal with, and absolutely I was aware that there were structural issues, integrity issues, and aesthetic issues, and I was ready to start right away, okay? But there's a difference between that and having to design, come and tell you that my room's gonna look like this room. It's very different than me making sure that this room is structurally
How
sound.
long have you owned the building now, Mr. Letourneau?
Since, since we discussed it in October.
How long is that?
What is it, 4 months, 5 months now?
So
Okay.
you have owned it for quite a while. We haven't seen any evidence at this point that you're doing anything with the building.
I can't
Councillor
touch the
Washington, I'll
building.
just, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Could I just say, I can't touch the building until I have a permit. And I've been in contact, and Scott knows that this is purely a financial issue. It's not an inability to not want to work on it. It's I can't do anything until I have a permit.
Okay,
And
thank you.
sorry.
Councillor Washington.
I really had high hopes for the building. When
Yeah.
you came in, I
Mhm.
was
Right.
excited that a heritage building
Mhm.
was going to be restored,
Mhm.
and I'm really disappointed you've waited till the 11th hour to come in to defend yourself.
I've
And
been in discussion. I've made this
give me-
point.
If you can give me a minute.
Okay, please.
And I'd really like to hear from Mr. Smith now,
Mhm.
his version of the story that you've just told us, if you don't mind.
Okay, may I just say this? I have not just come at the, I've talked to Scott previously to this, okay, on a number of occasions. Okay, okay.
No, it's good. Thank you.
So, one clarification I would like to make perfectly clear. We would not require the level of detail where we are looking at lighting fixtures. That's not what we're talking about. And I can tell you what was put in writing to Mr. Letourneau in December that was requesting him provide one of the two following pieces of information by a certain date. A detailed plan by a professional architect for the remediation of the building to the current BC building code, or a detailed plan for the demolition of the building. That was provided to him on December 15th of 2017, and we gave him a timeline to provide that information by January 28th of 2018, and we received neither. And I'll just leave it at that for now.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Sobey?
Yeah, I'm prepared to read the motion unless there's somebody else that wants to talk on the matter. Okay. The council for the city of Port Alberni, pursuant to section 72, 73, and 74 of the community charter, hereby resolve that, 1, the building located at 5109 Athol Street, Lot 2, 3, Block 84, District Lot 1, Alberni District Plan VIP 197D, PID number 009230718, 009230688, is hereby declared as a hazard and nuisance, and the owner of the property and the owner agent is hereby ordered to take the following remedial action within 30 days or the receipt of a notice of order, which consists of A, complete demolition and removal of the building, and be in further resolved that the city clerk and the city of Port Alberni is hereby authorized in default of such remedial action measures being undertaken by the owner or the owner's agent to direct employees and others to enter and take remedial action with the expenses being charged to the owner. If unpaid by December 31st in the year in which the work is being done, the expenses shall be added to and form part of the taxes to be paid on the real property and as taxes as arrears or to be collected as a debt.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? Councillor McLennan?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the picture that we've had up there was showing the part of the building that's buckling. And it's only not fallen down, I believe, because there's no studs in there. It's all laminated 2x8 or whatever. So to straighten that out would take a lot more money than taking it down and rebuilding a very nice building. And I think this is the cheapest way anyway.
Okay, Councillor Alberni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say it's a shame that we would lose a building like this. It is a heritage building. It's something that has stood there for decades. I know this has been something that I've mentioned to the Development Services Director before, but if there's any way, if the city does have to take down the building, it would be nice if small heritage tokens of that building could be preserved in some way for the museum. But I think the time has come.
There's also probably some pretty valuable wood in there if the building is taken down in that way. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Council? On the motion, all those in favor? Oops, sorry.
So I'm asking the city to give me time to deal with this. Whether or not I'm not trying to debate. I'm not trying to debate with Scott or anything. Scott knows that I was willing to move forward. And I'm not saying right or wrong here. I'm saying this situation where now my financing requirements have changed, I'm more than willing to bring the building up to code. Now, if we say today that it's not about lights, if that's the case and we can move it, then I ask City Council to give me some time. As I told you this last month, I've had family issues. I'm not looking for excuses, but give me a window. And when you say that you had high hopes, I have had high hopes. I was willing to start this work. It wasn't I wasn't willing, and it hasn't been I haven't been willing. It's a financial hurdle that's been placed in front of me. If we want to discuss, then I don't require to give that detail, then I think we can move forward much faster because there's a difference in the cost. And if today we're saying that wasn't a requirement, from what I understood in my discussions, that was a requirement. I needed one permit and I had to lay everything out on the table.
So Mr. Letourneau, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yes.
We have considered this, and this council has been considering this particular building for its entire mandate as a council. In fact, the city's been thinking about this building since 2014. So we're now into our 5th year of, as a city, of worrying about this building and public safety. So I think it was really clear when you bought the building. So we're just about to take a vote on this decision.
Okay. Can I make one? I didn't wait till the last hour. This is when I've been asked to come and speak. I've been in touch with Scott already. Scott knows exactly what my situations have been. It's not about I was waiting or delaying or coming to the last minute. This meeting was sent to me and I was told to come and address this with you. Okay, I would like the city to give me some time. This building is not as much, especially in the front. I have a design for this front building that's very cost effective.
Okay,
absolutely.
Mr. Letourneau, thank you very much. We have heard you, and we understand exactly what you're concerned about. We also understand what we have to do as a council.
Consider giving me a window, and if I don't meet that window,
thank you.
then I'm
and
fine.
That's not what this motion is about. Okay, on the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Council, that brings us to the Director of Parks, Recreation and Heritage, the quadpartite agreement for museum operations. Welcome, Director Thorpe.
That's quite the effect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you'll note,
don't take it personally.
As you'll note from the status report and the report in front of you, that Council had directed that a quad-party agreement be developed between the City, Alberni Clayoquot Regional District, Shuswap First Nation, and Hoopachesit First Nation for the purposes of jointly operating the museum that is currently owned and operated solely by the City. So there's been a handful of iterations of what that operation might look like. And so as part of the engaging the Heritage Commission, The quadpartite model was brought to the Heritage Commission for the purpose of seeking advice on implementation. So essentially the question was posed to the Heritage Commission to say, in order for that quad-party agreement to work or the arrangement to be successful, what might need to happen. And so you'll see there's 5 steps outlined in the discussion on page 52. And so the steps 2 through 5, of course, are subsequent to the first step. And the commission felt, which I agree with, that the important critical first step is engaging elected officials. So the idea that mayor and council of the city of Port Alberni would take the lead on reaching out individually to each of the other parties, so each of the Shuswap, Hupecheset, and regional district, to confirm the other parties' interest and involvement, their incentive to get involved, and their resource capacity. So whether that be human resources in the method of staff and volunteers, and also financial commitment from each of those parties. So I've got the 2 recommendations included below, but would love to take any questions council might have.
Okay, let's start with the questions first, and then before we get to the actual recommendation. So Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, so reading this, I was kind of surprised that council discusses with other people and things, but it's our staff that does the work and comes back with the recommendations. And my understanding, just reading your report, and there's one motion that's not here, but that's fine. It was at the beginning of this council's term. But on March 27th, there was a motion to do a tripartite agreement as outlined in option 3, and we've come back with a quadpartite agreement. So I'm wondering how we got that far, and now you want the council to go and start from the beginning again, talking to people. My understanding was that we were going to be presented with a proposal on how to do it. Now we got to start at the beginning and see if anyone's willing. Has nobody talked to anybody in the past 12 months? Because it's just over 12 months ago that this motion was passed.
So just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, under the background sections, as far as Councillor McClemon's question about how we got from a tripartite to a quadpartite, as it indicates in the background section at the January 8th, 2018 meeting of council, it was an ask by council. There was a motion passed that the regional district be included as the 4th party to be involved. As far as staff reaching out, staff absolutely have reached out. And we know that each of the involved parties are all at a variety of stages of being mobile on this issue. And so with this level of engagement, that's the commission's feeling. In order for it to be successful, the ability for a council to council have a discussion about what that incentive looks like. So if we're inviting other parties to the table, we feel strongly that it's the ability for those elected officials to sit face to face and say, this is what we're looking for in a partnership. Are you keen to be involved? Because at the end of the day, the decision comes from that council table. So yes, staff have reached out, and at this stage, we have not been able to mobilize it at a staff level. And so upon further review, getting council to council have that discussion to find out, is that the wish of fellow councils? Is that part of their mandate? Do they have those types of resources? That's something that those councils would need to weigh in on.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Minions, then Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is an important step for us to take, and I think we probably should have taken it in a formal capacity, council to council, a long time ago. I think we've been talking at this table for quite a while about the desire to move forward with this, and we've been talking about doing it with other parties, but have not reached out to them in a formal way. So I think we've made a bit of a mistake here in that we have maybe gone about it in a way that we kind of typically have, which is decided what we want to do and ask the other parties after we've made that decision rather than engaging them from the start. So hopefully better late than never, but I think this is a great step to take.
Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Minions. However, when it comes to the The quad-parte agreement with Shushat and Hupachasit, if you'll notice on our current status report, items 1 and 2 are to do some talking with both of the First Nations, and if you go down to item 5, pursue shared service with opportunities with the ACRD. So I think Director Thorpe is saying that we as a council need to clear up some of these status report items, get the communication going with the Hupachasit, get the communication going with Zishat, so that we can, the Heritage Commission can approach them, but rather than the Heritage Commission going over the head of the council and the city staff. So I think the report's good, but we just have to, we as a council have to get moving on some of these status reports.
So let me just clarify for myself. So you're saying you've done enough of the work that we're actually ready now for council to reach out at this political level to have this kind of discussion?
I'm saying that I would agree with Councillor Minions that the idea that I think that we're a little out of order in process. So the model, the idea that we develop a quad-parted agreement is quite a prescriptive model. And so by putting that as the goal, there needs to be a lot of other things in place. For instance, steps 2 through 5, that what might the model look like? What's the incentive for anyone to get involved? So in order for staff to mobilize and saying, this is what we need, this is what this report is outlining, saying before I can make any sort of commitment on behalf of heritage dollars of the city, do we know that anyone's even prepared to come to the table? So right. That's where, again, I think from the level of an elected official as opposed to staff, I think it's that level of government that needs to engage first. And as Councillor Washington indicated, there's some other room there, I think, as far as shared services and discussions to have, which I think that that this model could be a result of those other items as opposed to a symptom.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just as what I see it boiled down to is we need to go down to Suchat and to Hupachasit and to the ACRD and ask them if they are interested at all, period. Quadpartite is probably at this point beside the point. It's just to start the conversation. So I think that's what our director is telling us.
Because we know if they say no, we're not interested, that forces another series of considerations. So, Councillor McLennan?
Yeah, I'm having a problem. When we started this debate back 4 years ago, I know you weren't here, we were very concerned with the finances of the city and the jeopardy of certain city functions, and one of them we dealt with was the McLean Mill, and the other one we were looking to do something very similar with the museum to try and get alternate financing in. We're in a situation, we're then, and I think closer now, but we dodged the bullet for a decade or more, where the industry in this town could just disappear. And we're very close with Trump's new duties or whatever on the products of Catalyst. And from what I read in the financial papers and what I'm reading in the news, they're not a long way from oopsies, we can't do it anymore. And I didn't know this before about a year or two ago, but it seems like, I thought they had to pay taxes anyway, by the way. It seems like that when they shut down, if they make a declaration of it, and some feller from the BC assessment was trying to explain this to me, they don't have to pay hardly any taxes anymore if they're not operating under the present rules. So we would suddenly have millions of dollars not in our budget, and I would hate to see the museum close because of that, and I was hoping, and we were hoping that we would get something together by now, or by before now. But I know it's not your fault, but I'm just trying to explain that's the problem I'm having.
Right. If I may, Mr. Mayor, I think just going back to this, specifically this report and the quadpartite agreement being such a prescriptive model, it's, from my perspective, it's a foregone conclusion that you'll have other folks or other parties at the table. And so that's where my confusion, I guess, is around what steps what the order of the steps are. To understand that if the mandate is that we will have a quadpartite agreement at a staff level for staff to mandate other staff from an external organization to come to the table and mandate that behavior is obviously it's not how business works. And so again, with the lens from the Heritage Commission was all not around that it was or wasn't a good idea, or it is or isn't feasible. It's the lens was how could we make it happen? And so that's why the recommendation is at a higher than staff level, at an elected official level, to have that discussion about bringing those parties together with the goal then, and again outlining the steps 2 through 5 are much more the logistics about how that system might work, but without having that confirmation that staff frankly cannot mandate other staff to perform certain function. That's why the request or the recommendation is that it's council engaging council.
Okay, I understand. Anything else, Council? Councillor Paulson?
I guess if we go through this process and the recommendations, and it is a little frustrating that, it's been going on for 4 years under our mandate anyway, and we're still at this point. And I too have some concerns if for some reason we lost some of our industrial tax base, that the city would have some very, very difficult decisions to make. And it would be around pools and museums and multiplexes and city halls and all those things. And my greatest hope at the beginning of this discussion, going way back, is that there may have been a different business model or a societal form that would make them less dependent on city funds. And those city funds may not be there next year or 10 years from now or 20 years from now. And if there was that model, if the quadpartite agreement for some reason crumbles or doesn't come to fore, or one of the parties doesn't come to the table, the way I look at it is I think we're back to October 11th, 2016. And that's the meeting where we actually had a motion to proceed with the arts, culture, and heritage plan as outlined in the proposal prepared by Neen Cranevelt. And the tri and the quad came after that fact. And I'll be quite honest, I'm kind of confused how we got to this point with the quad, but I guess it's different incarnations anyway. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, if we want to go down this road where council has taken the forefront, but I will caution you that if a quad doesn't work or a tri doesn't work, then I think we're back to 2016. And I hate going back. It's like a time capsule. But that's just my kind of view on it. And I was hoping that the museum and various other organizations would see that doomsday scenario as not a surety, but a possibility, and they would actually ensure themselves of continued operation through independent funding. And on Ron goes.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Councillor Minions.
Thank you. Just to some of the confusion of how we got here that has been addressed. I get it's frustrating that we have been talking about this for probably 3 years and haven't gotten as far as we had hoped we had gotten. But I think that we set a direction to partner with different organizations and forgot to get the buy-in of the organizations. So that's why we are where we're at. And we can move forward trying to get the buy-in, or we can set a different direction. But we can't do it the way we are, so.
Well, logically, we try to get the buy-in first. If we don't, then we make the decisions that come as a result of not having achieved that. So then last word to you, Councillor Minions. Are you prepared to make the motion?
That the report from the Director of Parks, Recreation and Heritage dated April 18th, 2018, providing information regarding pursuing development of a quadpartite agreement between the City, Sechot, Hupachesit, and the ACRD for operation of the Alberni Valley Museum be received.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
and that the mayor and council of the city of Port Alberni approach separately the elected officials at Alberni Clayoquot Regional District, Sechot First Nation, and Hoopachesit First Nation to explore the other parties' interest and involvement in a quadpartite agreement.
And I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Councillor Alamani?
Just really briefly, I mean, it comes down to, we've had dinners with both Sechot and Hoopachesit in the past, and this is just a matter of having one of those dinners, breaking bread, and creating a relationship so that this can actually happen. So I think that's all that we're looking for here, is trying to create that kind of relationship.
Okay. On the motion then, all those in favor? Carried. And council, I'll just share with you that it's possible that more than just the Sechot and Hoopachesit First Nation may want to come forward. So we'll see. There may be other conversations that we have just as we move through this process. Okay, council, that brings us to the current status report. Council, any questions on it? I believe, council, there is a motion here, forgotten the exact number, but it's about establishing considering the social planning committee, bringing that in. We did have a presentation related to that, and I'm wondering, CAO, where are we at with that initiative?
Mr. Mayor, there is a status report item on there. It'll be under Development Services. Just give me a sec, we'll find it. 2-3, number 23. Thanks, Alicia.
Yeah, number 23. And so, Mr. Smith, where are we at with the Social Planning Commission? Sorry. You're getting more exercise than almost anybody else in this room tonight.
So council has already passed this, and it is to draft a draft bylaw that would create a social planning commission, commission of the city, somewhat similar to the advisory planning commission. At the last committee of the whole meeting, you heard further comments and thoughts on that. It has been on there for a while. It has not ever changed off of a medium priority level, and as council is aware, I'm challenged working on your high priority ones, and I'll continue to work on them, and you can change this priority level to high, and I'll get to it as soon as I can.
Okay, and when we're doing everything in working with you to take some of these other responsibilities off your plate. So as those responsibilities disappear, then other things will appear on the plate. So get ready. It's coming your way. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Then, Councillor Paulson, do you want to move receipt of the current status?
I'd like to move that the current status report be received.
Is there a seconder? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this desperately, but I don't think we ever had a motion to form a social planning council. We just had it at the committee of the whole, and we had no motion there.
Well, number 23 says a regular meeting of council draft bylaw to establish a social planning commission September 2016. And then again, November of 2017. It's on the left-hand column. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Managers' monthly reports. We have a report from Parks, Recreation, and Heritage. Director Thorpe.
Thank you.
Thank you for not going very far.
I'd be pleased to answer any questions that Mayor and Council may have about the report.
Council? Rec Park. Looks to me like it's almost done.
It is. Yeah, so the top picture there on page 58, we're able to find a few dollars to replace the backstop fencing as well. So replace the rot in the grandstand, replace the fencing as well. So things are looking very, very good.
And how much use do you suppose that basketball court gets right there?
Oh, well, as you saw, Mr. Mayor, when you toured, I mean, within the span of an hour or so that you were there were multiple groups that used that space. And so the only thing missing was yourself, Mr. Mayor, and the council members that were there jumping in to join in. So that space is...
And you didn't have any of those basketballs that we would have needed anyway, so we were ready for lacrosse.
Okay, noted.
But, you know, I know Pam Craig is chair of the school board, and she's right here. And I bet you every school in the valley has a basketball court, doesn't it? It does. Yeah. Absolutely. As well as tennis courts at EJ Dunn, and we've got amazing tennis courts down at Rec Park and so on and so forth. So, yeah, thank you for doing that. Any other questions, Council, on that? Then, Councillor Alberni, could you move receipt of that report for us, please?
That the monthly report from the Director of Parks, Recreation and Heritage providing information about current departmental operations be received.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Don't forget to get them to sand off my initials in the dugout.
Did you put them in there yourself?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Council, that brings us to manager's report from the RCMP department. Inspector Hunter. Welcome, Inspector Hunter.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. Before I begin, I'm not sure if everyone's aware, had a tragedy in Toronto today. There were 10 individuals that were intentionally killed by a person in a vehicle driving down the sidewalk. And I just ask that we have those families in our thoughts during this time. I think it's a reflection on, unfortunately, today's society, and these things can happen anywhere. The world has changed, and I just think we need to reflect on that a little bit. So this evening, I have the first quarter report, crime statistics for the city of Port Alberni. And the numbers that I'm going to speak to are the reported crimes that we attended to in the city. There were a total of 2,863 calls for service. 2,271 of those were within the city of Port Alberni. The number of criminal offenses is up 32% for the quarter compared to last year. Interestingly enough, last year at this time when I was reporting, the first quarter of last year was down more than 10%. We had a good run going, dealing with our chronic offenders, dealing with issues in the community, and the dynamics of the community have changed. What's causing that? I'm not going to speculate. You've heard me talk about correlation between poverty, drugs, and mental health. Quite often all three of those are intertwined as well, and crime. So I guess it's not surprising that in this first quarter, with the increase in crime 32%, mostly driven by property crime, which is up 55% from 215 last year to 334. So interestingly, as reported by BC Ambulance, drug overdoses for the quarter are up 90%. We still maintain the status of having the highest number of drug overdose deaths per capita on the island. There's a lot of drug use in this community, and I know we've had discussions about dealing with those drug traffickers, and we have some big files as we speak with drug traffickers. A lot of them are dealing drugs for stolen property, quite the ring of that happening in the community. It's just something to think about. We need to get to the root of what's causing this, and I'm not here this evening to speculate what that is. We all know various services that are being provided in this community, and whether they are or not contributing to that is up for discussion. We continue to see a large amount of recidivism in the community. I'm going to cite a couple of examples after I go through the numbers. It's very frustrating for the community, for the police officers, putting all that time in and dealing with the same offenders over and over. I just wanted to highlight that our major crime folks, those 6 members that we have on our major crime unit are working on this past quarter some very serious files. A significant child exploitation investigation was undertaken, and this is not related to recent media attention on another matter. These are different ones that I'm speaking to. Adult males selling drugs for sex, 14-year-olds, a lot of it's happening. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into these investigations, our unit. They're big investigations. We also, as I just mentioned, drug trafficking investigations, and of course we have the child suspicious death that we're dealing with. There are comments in social media, you know, how come there haven't been arrests yet, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to get into it, but police work isn't like a TV show. And I can tell you we're working with Vancouver Island Major Crime. We're also working with our E-Division headquarters Major Crime in this file. It's a very serious file. We're putting a lot of effort into it, and we're making great progress. But arrests don't just happen out of the blue. You have to have the evidence for that, and that's what we're working toward. Those are just a few of the files that the major crime guys are working on, and as I've previously indicated at other council meetings and committee of the whole, that same group of major crime folks, they're the ones doing all the drug investigations as well, and the missing persons and the severe sexual assault and all those. It's a very busy unit. There's dozens of investigations that unit has that they're not even getting to at this point in time. We prioritize our files, and that's what they're doing. And not unlike general duty, prioritizing their calls for service as they come in throughout the day. And you've heard me talk before how busy the members are. I'm going to blast through the numbers here real quick, comparing 2017 to 2018. It has been a busy quarter. Total calls for service from 1,880 to 2,271. Violent crime from 76 up to 82. Property crime, and that's the big one. And once I get into the specifics of property crime, I'll have a few comments there. From 215 up to 334. That's drugs, 100% drugs. That's driving that drug abuse. Some property crime, you have the users who are daily committing those property offenses to feed their habit. You also have people that are into significant drug debts. We've had as many as 20, 30 property crimes occur in an evening. We've had folks drive into the community, they owe $30,000, and they come in, you may recall in January, I think about 20 vehicles one night, the windows were smashed and they were just grabbing it. That was just a rampage that came into the community. A couple of folks that live in the Oceanside area, and we know who they are and we're investigating that. But those are the two types of property crime that are happening. Other criminal code, 138 up to 146. Drug offenses, and that's anywhere from possessing drugs, drug trafficking, production of drugs, from 20 up to 30, bringing our total criminal code from 449 to 592. Our criminal code traffic, those are mostly impaired drivers, from 22 up to 41 for the quarter. So breaking down violent crime, assaults from 39 to 43. The more serious assaults from 9 up till 10. Harassments are down for the quarter, 11 down to 4. 1 robbery in the quarter compared to 3 last year. Sex offenses, 6, and that's up 2 from the previous year. Uttering threats from 6 to 10. And I do want to note that our domestic violence cases, assaults that involve domestic violence, are down from 31 to 20. And I do like to think that working with ACAUS and interagency groups and mental health in our community has had an effect in that regard. So breaking down the property crime, auto theft from 3 up to 6, bike theft from 2 up to 8, break and enter to businesses, 11 down to 9. Residential break and enters, 12 to 15. Now you'll notice break and enter other. This is compounds and sheds, those types of things, from 4 up to 21. Nicholas Latterroot was arrested for a majority of those crimes. He's a 30-year-old in our community. He's also responsible for quite a few of the mischiefs and thefts. Responsible for and getting charges approved are two different concepts. Interesting enough, he did receive 6 months in jail. He is in jail, and I ran the number of sheds that were broken into in the last month, and there haven't been any. One might want to draw a correlation that he's been doing them all. Mischief to property from 51 up to 74. Theft from 37 up to 52. Possession of stolen property stayed very similar at 4 compared to 5 last year. Shoplifting is up to 30 compared to 23. Theft from vehicle it was high last quarter. It's high this quarter. It's at 47. It was 40 last quarter, and I just pointed out we had 15 to 20 up to 25 in 2 nights that happened here. A string, so it can happen very quickly. Fraud from 9 up to 21. Frauds, the electronic means of defrauding people is quite prevalent. And these are just the number of folks that were out money of frauds. If we were to report all the fraudulent activities out there, it would be into the literally thousands. I think we all get those scam emails, those types of things. Cause disturbance remain the same at 58. Breach of probation, that is when they've served their sentence and they're supposed to be good people and they're on conditions in the community, from 30 to 32. And breach of bail, that's when they haven't attended court yet and we put them on conditions, from 25 to 33. Intoxicated in public from 51 down to 42. There were no fatal collisions during the reporting period. Injury collisions from 8 down to 2, and collisions involving damage from 22 to 18. So I talked about recidivism and our frustrations. We can see, we can map out when certain people are in jail or a group of people, and the property crime goes down, and as soon as they get out and it spikes. And we do our surveillance, and you know, crime is up for the quarter, but so are the number of report to Crown Councils that we've been submitting, and the number of people we've been charging. I'll express one frustration here. A male this quarter who was serving time for a multitude of property offenses in the community was released back into our community on February the 5th. He was arrested on February 13th on 20 new charges. This individual is still before the courts. And speaking of courts, just a little segment of some of our frustrations as well. Just recently it was reported Mike Martin had served, he was given a 2-year sentence. He didn't serve 2 years, but he was given a 2-year sentence for a couple of armed robberies a couple of years ago when I first arrived here. He was released, and shortly after his release he was shoplifting at a local establishment, and when the employee tried to stop him, he averted that and then actually confronted a shopper and severely assaulted this shopper. Crown Counsel was asking for 9 months prison time. The person was in our custody for 4 days awaiting first appearance, and they pled guilty on that day, and the judge ordered, he pled guilty and he received 1 day in jail. 4 days in jail is counted as time and a half, not straight time, so that counts for 6 plus the 1. So all I can tell you is our job is to catch these bad guys and girls and get them before the courts, and we have zero control after that, and it has been frustrating at times for us. I want to share just a couple more statistics with you that I hope puts things into perspective. You hear me talk about just how proud I am of your detachment here and our members, and without a doubt the hardest working crew that I have ever worked with in my 25-year career, and there's certainly a lot of work here to do, and it's reflected in the stat that I'm about to provide to council here. We have a thing that's called a clearance rate. It's across the world, actually. And what a clearance rate is, when there's a crime committed, are you solving that crime? And a clearance rate is either by charge, we've solved that there's a charge, or perhaps restorative justice, or the victim wants an alternate measure of dealing with it, but we have solved that crime. So for overall crime, the BC average for police forces across the province is 27% of all crimes are solved. Port Alberni, our average is 59%, more than double the provincial average. For non-violent crime, and these are your theft from vehicles, mischief, the thefts, and they are difficult to solve. They can happen in a matter of a second with no evidence left behind. There's communities of this size in this province where they don't even respond to theft from vehicles anymore. It's a waste of police resources because there's virtually no evidence there. So the provincial average for solving non-violent crimes is 20%. The Port Alberni average is 42%. And the last statistic is violent crime. And violent crime overall is has a higher clearance rate because generally there's two people interacting in a violent event, and we can identify who those are. Oftentimes there's random violence, and an investigation does not resolve, or a murder doesn't end up with charges. For violent crime, the BC average is a solve rate of 52%, and Port Alberni, our rate is 88%. I tried really hard to try to find another detachment that has a better solve rate than Port Alberni, and you can imagine there's hundreds of detachments. I gave up because I couldn't find one. Certainly all the neighboring detachments don't even come close. So your members are working hard out there. I do understand some of the social media comments out there and concerns. Just rest assured they're working hard. As soon as the bell rings, start of their shift to the bell rings at the end of their shift, and quite often beyond. And that's my report.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor? Councillor Paulson?
Just a real quick question. A couple of reports ago, you mentioned a gentleman that, I guess basically, there was a do not enter sign in Port Alberni imposed by the courts. And you said, yep, sure enough, he was arrested in Port Alberni. Is that guy still coming and going into our community? Like,
yes.
He was said, you're not allowed in Port Alberni anymore.
Yes. At one point in time, the courts removed that condition from that individual. I don't want to try to explain why that happened.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Soy?
Just one comment. First of all, what does it take to judicial process to understand what the community is going through and what the police is going through? So it's very hard for me to understand a certain decision from our local judges and so forth, and they always blame it because there's not enough room in our prisons, and it's a big warp of excuses, but nothing's really being done. I find as local politicians, we have a role to address our provincial and federal politicians into addressing this issue and sharing our frustration. So I don't leave that to the police, because the police, they just do their job, investigate, and process. So with that said, is there a, have you ever considered meeting more with Crown Council as having no-goes to Port Alberni for these repeat offenders? I know in the past they neglected to visit that for the only reason because they had family ties and so forth. But I just don't know if the police are making the request through Crown Council, or is it up to local politicians to address this with the Crown Council? But for these repeat offenders, to, upon conviction and sentencing, to having simple and no-go to Port Alberni.
Your Worship, I'd love to address that. We had a flux in our community last year at this time. Our resident Crown Council was seconded to another file for a significant period of time. And I can tell you, he's back now. Our local Crown Council is not a problem. He's fantastic. He speaks the same language as us. He's very assertive in the courtroom. You've just heard me say he wanted 9 months for this individual who ended up getting a day plus time served. Crown, and we're in contact with our local Crown on a daily basis. And I will tell you this, I've never seen a relationship with Crown where he invites our members, not just the bosses, the members. You want to talk about a file, come on over and sit down, and they'll have a discussion. And he listens, and he understands. He's been Crown Council here for 17 years. He's not the problem. He's excellent.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alberni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. Like you said, you know, the world has changed. So, can you speak at all to the rise of vigilantism that you see on social media, stuff like that? I find that very concerning, especially in a small community like this.
I've spoken about vigilantism prior. I'm not going to speak this evening about things that are happening in the media. Suffice to say, our police department is doing an outstanding job with the crimes that are occurring in this community. And I want people to leave the police work to the police for various reasons, safety being one of them, and potentially compromising an ongoing investigation being another. We could have hundreds of hours into an investigation and it could get squashed. Somebody may have some good intentions out there, but it's just dangerous. And like I say, I'm not going to speak to the recent file occurring in the community. There's 2 active investigations. I guess I will say that based on what is out there available to the public, I can understand people's frustrations. I'd probably be there too if I didn't know the whole story, and there's a much bigger story to it, and they're both very active investigations.
Okay, thank you, Inspector. Councillor Sobey, do you want to move receipt of this? Do you have one more thing to say, Inspector?
Your Worship, once you receive my report, I have a request, you bet.
All right, so let's receive the report.
That the quarterly report from the RCMP providing information about the current department operations be received.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, Inspector Hunter.
Your Worship, Council, if I may spend about 4 minutes, if there's no questions afterwards, could be up to 20, to summarize the status of our community policing and the thought process of moving that.
All right. Shall I start the clock now?
You go ahead. So Committee of the Whole meeting December 19th, a community member brought up an excellent idea. And throughout what I'm about to say here, the idea was excellent, to move community policing from its current location to the 3rd and Argyle area. And I've also discussed at various meetings that if we're going to spend some money to move the community policing office, and any amount of money to move it from its current location to the 3rd and Argyle area, it's my opinion based on what I know about policing, which is a little bit. The moving that community policing office would not have a significant, if any, impact on crime. And what I mean by that is you're going to have a couple of volunteers in an office between 10 a.m. and 2, handing out information and those types of things. That's not what our crime's all about in the community. But putting a community policing office in that location, a true community policing office, why they were designed back in the day is where you have problem crime areas, is a great idea. And we explored with our departmental security, with our project managers, our CMP property management, what it would take to locate a community policing building that would allow our community policing officer to be there, a couple of desks for our police officers to be there, an interview room, that type of thing, which our members are very excited about for this to come to fruition someday, where we could actually spend our day there and evenings working. That's how you're going to have an effect in the community. So to spend money just to move the volunteers up, that's not going to have a huge impact, is not worth it. in my opinion. It's anywhere between $500,000 and $700,000 to do the type of community policing office that would benefit the community in that area. And that's not a priority for me, nor is it for council. We have other things to deal with that are a higher priority than that. But I will say, what happened with this, with the inclusion of our RCMP management experts, they did some site visits, which was great. They happened to be in the community. There's buildings going on in Tofino and Duncan, so while over on the island, they came and checked things out. And I was fearful that what I'm about to say was going to happen. As I talked at the beginning of this council meeting, the world has changed. In Canada specifically, when Nathan Cirillo was murdered 3 years ago on Parliament Hill, it's a scary place. And the police, whether it's a police officer, a police employee, or a volunteer, we have an obligation under the Canada Labour Code to protect those employees. So they had a look at our current policing, community policing office, and at minimum, even if it's just volunteers with no top secret information in there, you need a non-permeable barrier there to keep the public from any ability of getting inside that building. You have a deranged person, they see police, they don't know who's in there, and we need to protect our volunteers. So that's a $30,000 to $50,000 bill just for that barrier. And the particular building down at Harbor Key needs some more work, so we're looking at $50,000 there. So the community policing down there is now shut down, and its reopening is likely not going to occur. What we are doing, and I've talked to CAO Apply about this, is if we want to set up our community policing anywhere in the city here, anywhere, and just community policing folks, you're looking at $50,000 to make it a safe place. And I know there's other community policing places around the province, and I'm not going to speak about them, but I can't unhear and unsee what I've been told about our community policing office. I have to create a safe environment for them. So we're actually taking down the sign today. We'll have volunteers in there. We kind of, it's a quarterback place, a headquarters for our citizens patrol and speed watch and those types of things. So there's still going to be some administrative work happening. Just the storefront component of community policing cannot be happening. Community policing is strong as ever. It's not closing down. I think we're all huge supporters of it. But the model's going to change until we can find a building somewhere. But it's not a big priority right now. We're looking at ways of getting out into the community in different ways, setting up booths here and there, perhaps up at the visitor center, continuing with our citizens patrol, with our business watch, and just visiting businesses and those types of things. So that's the status of our community policing. It's not a priority to spend $700,000 to put the building up there. I've told CAO Apply, I have an ultimate dream if we're into spending money, which we're not. What a better thing than to have not only community policing and spaces for police officers, but why not have space for our bylaw folks and our half-time bylaw admin who could work with our bylaw folks, community policing, a couple of members in there. You got an interview room. We can work in partnership with bylaw. And if you want to make a difference in your community, that's what you need to do. If you're going to do it right. And anyway, that's a vision, and I know I was longer than 4 minutes.
It sounds like you're starting a campaign. Okay.
No campaigning.
Inspector Hunter, thank you.
Any questions
thank you very
on
much.
community policing, though?
Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think your idea is excellent in what you want to accomplish. The price tag I didn't like much.
Nor do I.
But I've seen where community policing has worked in rough neighborhoods. Never had to live in one, thankfully, but I've been visiting towns and watched them working, and they're very effective, stopping all kinds of things. So I think it's good. So that's all. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Inspector Hunter.
Thank you.
Okay, Council, that brings us to bylaws. The first bylaw, the only bylaw we're considering this evening is from Director of Finance on tax rates 2018, bylaw number 4962. Councillor Alamani, are you able to make that motion?
That tax rates 2018 bylaw number 4962 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed but with the corporate seal, and numbered 4962.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. There is no correspondence for action, apparently, but we do have some proclamations. First one is Walk for Alzheimer's Day. So, Councillor Sauvé, this is your baby. Do you want to move the motion?
Yes, and hopefully I'll see everybody there on May 6th between 9:30 and 10 a.m. at the Glenwood Center. That May 6, 2018 be proclaimed a Walk for Alzheimer's Day in Port Alberni.
Your seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the Alberni Valley Hospice Society, we have a letter dated April 10th from them. Councillor Alamani, are you prepared to make that motion?
That the letter dated April 10, 2018 from the Alberni Valley Hospice Society be received and council proclaim the month of May 2018 as Hospice Palliative Care Month in Port Alberni.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And then we have item 3, which has been added, and it's a letter from the CAO, Mr. Holmes, from the ACRD, Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District, and looking for a motion, you'll see it in the final paragraph, about Emergency Preparedness Week. So, Councillor Washington, are you prepared to make that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the City of Port Alberni supports the Regional District to consider proclaiming the week of May 6 to 12, 2018 as Emergency Preparedness Week.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And from informational correspondence, City Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 1, Food Security and Climate Disruption Committee, the minutes from March 1st, 2018 meeting. Item number 2, United Steelworkers Day of Mourning, letter dated April 6, inviting attendance at the Day of Mourning ceremony at the Steelworkers Hall at 4904 Montrose Street to begin at 10:30 a.m. on April 28th. The Union of British Columbia Municipalities, letter dated April 5th, announcing the city has received funding in the amount of $7,967 from the 2018 Fire Smart Planning and Activities Grant Program. Number 4, BC Road Builders and Heavy Constructions Association, letter dated April 11th, 2018, enclosing a copy of their 2018 Strategic Work Plan and various brochures. And finally, number 5, Reconciliation Committee, at the minutes of the April 4th meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. And before I ask Council, just like to thank Councillor Sauvé for agreeing to represent the city at the Day of Mourning on the 28th. I'm unable to be here that day. Council, anything you wish to pull out from this? Councillor McClement?
No, I was just going to bring out the Day of Mourning, Mr. Mayor, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Sauvé is acting as mayor this month, so that works out well. Then Councillor McClement, do you want to move receipt of this correspondence?
I move we receive the informational correspondence.
Your seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, Council, we are bringing out a report from in camera from our last in-camera meeting, and that is Council supported a request to provide a written report, support in principle for a housing and employment concept presented to us from a gentleman named Bear Lind. So that I believe that information is out in the community already, but we have provided that formally this evening. That brings us then to council reports. So their first report is mine. Council, on April the 10th, I was at a tsunami earthquake presentation in the upstairs in the multiplex, given by Ocean Networks Canada. Great presentation, lots of information, and just so you know, it is leading to the possibility for grants for us to improve some of our basic infrastructure, such as bridges. April the 11th, attended a meeting of the parade committee that Pam Craig mentioned. It was, yeah, it's going to be a good parade. April the 12th, I met with Corey Johns. I had to go to his office in Parksville because he's a busy guy and it couldn't fit me in Port Alberni. As well, that evening attended the vigil for Humboldt, and particularly want to mention Councillor Paulson and your incredible contribution to that. Thank you very much, Councillor Paulson. April 13th, on the Friday, I was in Victoria for the AVICC, the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities. Attended the Mayor's Caucus, regional dialogue on opportunities for tech innovation and smart communities, and then sessions in that afternoon. On the 14th, I returned to Victoria and AVICC because I was invited sort of at the last minute to appear on a panel on the impact of opioids on a small community, as well as a panel about wild fish sponsored by the BC Seafood Alliance. The 16th, attended the auxiliary spring luncheon for the West Coast General Hospital. On the 18th, met with students from JP2, grades 1 and 2. The 19th, I was in Victoria at a meeting called by the Premier about the impact of the anti-dumping tariffs on catalyst operations in BC, which, by the way, amount to $2 billion a year worth of economic activity just for our province. On the 20th, attended the community awards here in Port Alberni. Many great awards, many great nominees. Not everybody could be successful, but certainly they were all amazing people under consideration. And on the 21st, attended the Top 20 Under 40 event in Nanaimo. And thank you again to Councillor Sauvé for representing the city at Anzac Day in Comox. And Council, that's my report. I move acceptance of our report.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. And Councillor McClellan from the Regional District.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, at the last regional district, there was, most of the items were for the area directors and a lot of in camera, and I don't have an actual report this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
If you remember something I forgot, go ahead, but.
I don't. Okay. So a motion to receive then.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. That brings us to council reports. We'll start with Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. April 11th, attended District Labour Council meeting with Councillor Sauvé and wish to congratulate the newly elected and the re-elected. And once again, a reminder for the day of mourning for the fallen workers, April 28th, beginning at 10 a.m. April 12th, West Island Wilderness Advisory Group meeting. Jim Moress from Western reported that 5 contractors are working in the Franklin area. Right now, all the wood is being consumed internally. It is also noted in 2017 that Western exported less than 5% compared to the industry standard of 36%. April 13th to 15th, AVICC with my fellow councillors. Really enjoyed the networking. I know a lot of the rest of the councillors got a lot of things to say about the AVICC, so I'll leave it up to them. Just to let you know that we did present Councillor Charlie Cornfield of Campbell River 7 cans of the world-famous Port Alberni Salmon Festival winners salmon. And we did some quick math at our table before I went up and presented it to him. And when we do the math, it works out to about $163 a can. So We also invited them to come join us this Labor Day weekend. April 16th, Committee of the Whole meeting. Final movie for Film Fest is on this Sunday, April 29th, Paramount Theatre, C'est la Vie. Yeah, I'd like to congratulate Sonia Drinkwater for her semi-hour retirement on Sunday. And also to the Chamber, not only to the winners, but those who were nominated. And especially to Paige and Abby for the special treat I got today coming to council to work. So that's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things. Number one, the vigil was amazing, and thank you to Councillor Paulson for that. That was one of the most moving experiences I think I've certainly had as council, and I know the community felt so as well. The AVICC, as Councillor Washington said, was a great event. There was lots to learn and lots of networking. There's a report on my website, so I'll compile that for council in due course, but people can check that out as well. But I do want to mention the resolution that was passed at the end, brought forward by City Council. Thankfully, it was great, and it was well passed. So that was to do with ensuring the oil spill response bases that were stopped in construction when Kinder Morgan decided that they were taking a hiatus. The motion was to encourage the provincial and federal government to guarantee funding so that those bases were built no matter what happened with that project. So that was successful. So thank you for council for that, and for the rest of the AVICC for that. And then the last one is I have to read this out. This is the best thing I think I've ever gotten in my mailbox in 4 years in council. It's from Matthew, Annika, and Dylan, and it has a very nice message about the job we all do. My favorite part, it says, it's my favorite weather is a lightning storm. And I wasn't sure what this was at first, but of course, it's a lightning storm. It is the best lightning storm picture ever.
Right to the weatherman.
So thank you to Matthew and Annika and Dylan.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Paulson.
My little picture shows me sliding down a slide with my hair going like this. So it is pretty funny, but my wife has it framed already. Anyway, on April the 10th was the Humboldt Vigil, and I just want to say something about how our community continues to amaze me in how they come out and support each other. And we figure that there was somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 people there that night, and I think it was cathartic for the community. I think we all felt the hurt and the pain that Humboldt went through, so it was a well-attended event, and everybody was there to honor and to respect the Humboldt community. AVICC through the 13th and 15th, and the other thing on April 20th, and I will probably have to start working with Parks and Rec on this fairly soon, but we're still pursuing our community to host an international team during the World Junior Hockey Championships that begin on December 24th. And it would be pre-competition for training and also possibly 2 pre-competition games here. Hockey Canada, in the last week, we've had a number of conversations with them. We're on their radar, and they have not said no. Actually, the fact that we've been so persistent, they are really more thinking about locating one of those teams in our area. We would probably host the 9th or 10th seed in the world, and at this point in time, I think that's Denmark and Kazakhstan. So it could be one of those two. I have to double check the 9th, 10th seed, but Jack will be the interpreter for Kazakhstan. I'm sure he speaks Borat. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Paulson. Councillor Sauvé.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too received a nice picture from Rachel and Troy Hunter. I'll make sure I get all the names right, but If it's a picture of me, thank you very much for putting some hair on my head. And I notice here there's an outside campfire, so I don't know what message that's sending, but thank you very much. So, it's been an extremely busy week, past 2 weeks for me, but I'll just highlight a few things. On April 11th, the Labor Council, thank you to Councillor Washington for being there with me, and had a great time there, and I'm not going to say anything more that Councillor Washington haven't stated. April the 12th, Senior Advisory Committee unfortunately had to be canceled because we didn't have a quorum, but we had an opportunity to talk to a group representing pensioners in our community that brought up a lot of issues. That's really going to open some subject matters for us to discuss on the committee. April the 12th also attended the multiplex for the Humble Memorial. So I just want to really extend my heartfelt thank you for the community for showing up. I was worried at first that I was going to find a seat, but it was just totally packed, and it was pretty amazing to see the community come together. So thank you very much for that. On April 13th, AVICC for the week. Some things I like to remember and some things I like to forget, but I'll keep that short. But there was a lot of talk, especially about the new dispensaries laws being discussed. I think that I sent my report out to all the councillors on this matter. I think the big message is nothing's done yet, and it's going to be quite a while before they get everything in order. So I wouldn't be expecting any time soon. April 19th, Fur Park and Echo Village. I've been so busy because I volunteer all over the place in town, but I guess it was Volunteer Appreciation Week. So Echo and Fur Park held a luncheon and tea with the seniors for the volunteers. So thank you for all the volunteers that take part of that and help out your community members there. Also on the 20th, the RCMP held their volunteer appreciation luncheon, so I attended there on behalf of the city. Special mention to Sonia Drinkwater's retirement. She's surely going to be missed in her local media, and but I'll still be seeing her around lots. So she attended the luncheon at Fur Park Village, so I asked her if she was getting a room there. So I don't think I got on her good side already. So, but it's nice that she's getting acknowledged, and a lot of people attended the retirement party. So I really appreciate that. Like the mayor said, on the 21st, I attended the 19-wing Comax at the HMCS Alberni Museum for the Anzac Day. So that was well attended, and I represented the committee on that, and Mr. Gordjon was there, Gordjons, so thank you for his attendance. And that's pretty much it. I'll keep it short tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McLennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I would also like to thank the artist and lettered writer from, what school was it, Mr. Mayor?
JP2, John Paul.
John Paul, too, okay. So, and I got a letter here from Elliot, Chelsea, and Banny. So I got one from 3 people, guys. And, yeah, and I think we've pretty much covered everything. The only comment I think I'd like to make is that was already mentioned by Councillor Alberni in the motion that was passed at the AVICC to ask the government to pay for the waterfront protection and oil spills and let off the industry from not paying and let the taxpayer pay. I really don't like that, and I just thought I'd like to mention that, that's all. And with that, I'd like to move the wonderful reports from all these councillors.
And I'll second that, Mr.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. New business. It's come from our last motion, our last meeting, and that's from the Food Security and Climate Disruption Committee. We have a series of motions. Councillor Alberni?
Yeah, so just as preamble for the motions, they are made, I think, with the full knowledge of the committee on the request for resources to the city. So you'll notice in the first two motions, they they were made pre the announcement about the engineering manager. But again, I just wanted to emphasize that these aren't immediate things that must be done, but I think they're goals that the committee would like council to consider and staff to be able to bring back to council at an appropriate time. And the last one, in the same vein, is really a request to put something onto the financial plan next year. So again, not something that should tax city staff.
Okay, so
You want me to make
yeah,
one or most of the
if you
motions?
want to make the motions.
Okay. So I'll make the first motion that council for the city of Port Alberni direct the engineering department, as soon as a manager is in place, to investigate and report to council on developing policy to reduce non-permeable surfaces on road surfaces and other city-owned and controlled infrastructure as part of its sewer, storm, road, and other infrastructure renewal programs.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Alaman, are you talking about bioswales?
Really talking about the whole gamut. There's a direction in the community plan as well as other policy documents in the city about reducing the amount of runoff, the amount of impact onto our sewer system. So any ways to reduce the impact on our sewer, storm, and road infrastructure is kind of what the committee is getting at. The mention of non-permeable surfaces is things like the tiling. That's not the right word. Down at Harbor Key, the paver stones at Harbor Key, something simple like that, or using more grass or boulevards on community streets. It's a planning goal to ensure that our sewer and storm system are not as taxed as they have been in the past.
Because I do, notice in many communities where I travel, I see fairly extensive use of bioswales wherever they can do that. And
Yeah.
even in the sidewalks in North Vancouver, you can see them right there. So,
Absolutely. There's lots of great examples out there.
yeah. Okay. Any other comment, question, Councillor McClement?
Yeah, I guess I got a problem with asking the staff to do this one because it's quite an involved situation, and really in a town like ours, from the sessions that I've had on permeable pavement and stuff, and when I first got on council, I went to a fairly large conference on it, and it really is more for the prairies and places where there isn't the runoff that we've got here. And we did pass a motion to request that the Food Security Climate Protection Committee work on some of these things that they really believe in and then send us some recommendations. Because we really didn't have the staff time, and I've seen a lot of things come in to get the staff to do things, some particular ones, tonight even, and are we using the resources properly? Because this particular motion, I personally don't agree with it, simply because I don't think it fits Port Alberni, although I do agree with the concept, but not for here, that's all.
Okay, any other comment, Council? Okay, then on the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, Councillor Alamani, defeated, sorry.
So the second one, that council for the city of Port Alberni direct the engineering department as soon as manager is in place to report to council on first steps for development of the primary pedestrian and cycling route identified in the active transportation plan alongside the inn and corridor. And if I could speak to that, the expectation here is not that staff would do this. This would have to be something that would be a consultant-driven process. So really, I think what staff would have to do, and the manager probably could speak to this more, the CAO, but I think we would have to identify, what's a first step, what sort of consultation would we need to do, and what kind of consultant would we need to do.
Okay, Councillor McClement? No, sorry.
I was just asking staff if it was seconded. I didn't notice a second.
It hasn't been seconded yet. So is there a seconder for this motion?
I'll second it, most.
Okay, thank you. Now it's seconded. Any other questions on this? So a comment, Councillor Alberni, on this motion. When it says alongside the Inland corridor, which is, it's an interesting corridor, but are you thinking all the way where to McLean's Mill, or just within the city limits, or are you thinking beyond that?
I think the goal could be further beyond the city limits, but I think the intent of this motion is simply to focus on the city at this point.
Okay, because there are some parts of that corridor that some people may see as a little unsafe. So presumably if there was a report from a consultant, they would be looking at those, any safety issues.
For sure.
Okay. Okay, on the motion, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? And tie. It's tie defeats it. Yeah. So it defeats it. Motion's defeated. Okay. Next one, Councillor Alberni.
And the last one is that Council for the City of Port Alberni directs staff to initiate, beginning with the 2019-2023 financial plan, an annual $10,000 city active transportation fund dedicated to support educational and other non-infrastructure related initiatives in the active transportation plan.
Okay, is there a seconder for this motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, comment, Councillor Sylvie?
When it comes to the education aspect of this, of active transportation plan, what do you refer to?
So this would be something through Parks and Rec, something like that.
Okay, I understand what you're talking about. Cycling, you're talking about...
Yeah, all aspects of active transportation. Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of as identified in that plan.
Okay, because the cycling has already been offered by some other groups?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Paulson? Okay, to me, I like the concept. I just don't like the concept of $10,000 coming off the top from the city budget for this every year, because I really suspect there are grants available to do that sort of thing. FCM often has grants. Bike BC often has grants. I think there's other places we can go to first before going to city taxpayers for $10,000 a year coming off the top. So I have a difficulty supporting it coming out of the budget. I love the concept. I think it's exactly the right way to go. I just don't think it first comes from taxpayers to pay for it. Any other comment? I'll call the motion then. On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? And the motion's defeated. Okay. Yes. So, Council, just want to give you just a heads up, a notice of motion from me. I'm sorry, I should have put it in there when we had the rest of it. One is the marijuana bylaw. I'm going to be asking that we review our current marijuana bylaw in light of potential changes coming from the federal and then provincial governments, just to see if our bylaw is going to be robust enough to withstand that. And the second item is we have a MSP increase coming in 2019, and I would like to get information from council. What is the impact on our budget for next year? And I think it's important that as council we fully understand what that's going to do to our budgets, because it could be fairly significant. Okay, then that brings us to question period. It's an opportunity for public and press to ask questions of mayor and council. And nobody's leaping up, so then a motion to adjourn, and reminding councilors that we have one quick item to finish in camera when we finish our meeting. So a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
All in favor? So we don't have to go back and finish it? All right, then we don't have to worry about it. Thank you very much.